Hey, so real quick, just letting you guys know, this is actually going to end up being two different videos. So it initially was supposed to be just one video, but it went pretty long, and I feel like the two halves of this were pretty different. So I'm just making it into two, but that's why you might hear me say something like, I'll say this later in the video, but I'm actually going to say it on the next video, which I'm just going to post about an hour after I post this one. So be on the lookout for that, but yeah. Back to your regularly scheduled video. If you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you are well aware that I am a big Jon Gruden fan. I grew up a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, so he won us a Super Bowl. He was the coach that was coaching my favorite team when I started getting into football. So obviously, he has a special place in my heart. You got to put some blame on him, though. You just do. I mean, he deserves, I think, a good amount of criticism for what's happened this season and how he's fallen apart now for the third straight season that his coach teams are trying to make the playoffs. They've completely fallen apart in the last quarter of the season. This year, last year, and then if you go back to 2008, which was his last season coaching for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were 9-3 and lost the last four. So, you know, as the old saying goes, once is a fluke, twice is a coincidence, and 3 times is a trend. Well, this is 3 times in a row. But still, it's not just a coincidence. It is a trend, and there are things that have gone wrong that I think are directly coaching. And so I want to talk about them. A lot of it is defense, so I'll start off with the defense, but I will get into some specific Jon Gruden criticisms as well, because he deserves them, quite frankly. Like, let's take a look at this play to start off. So this is, again, defensive play. The way it works for the Los Angeles Chargers is it's going to be a zone coverage play in their running play action. They have multiple receivers who will run routes that could get open against this type of coverage, because the hope on a play like this is that you can get linebackers out of position. Now, if a good defense was going up against this, they wouldn't get too far out of position and would figure out what the Chargers are doing and cover it up. This is not a good defense that's going up against the Chargers. So Herbert is going to take the snap, fakes the handoff, and first I want to show the player that Herbert doesn't actually look towards. This is the read he's not making, but if you see, I mean, there's clearly an opening right here for Herbert to make the throw, because the Raiders player who's in charge of covering the zone that the Chargers player is getting into is basically at the line right now. When I first saw this play, I thought it was it looked like it was like, okay, this is a zone blitz. It isn't. He just got completely fooled. Meanwhile, over there, I've put those two players in boxes right there. This is a clear example of guys just not understanding their jobs on a certain zone coverage play. Because clearly what you should do is these should be flipped. The two Raiders players who they're going after, they should be going after the opposite person. The whole point of zone coverage is you're going to have someone in the area to try and make a play. But again, here, that's not really what they're doing right now. They're kind of doing the opposite, where they're now just way out of position. Whereas if they just switched off and were going after the other player, it'd be really, really difficult for Herbert to make a throw in this direction, and he probably wouldn't be able to. Instead, this results in an easy completion because there's basically 2 zones completely taken out of that play, and both of the players that Herbert could have thrown to were wide open. There was only 2 options on that play other than a check down. There was really just 2 players down the field he wanted to throw to, and they both got open. When you have 6 defenders in the area, that just can't happen. I definitely think something I'll tackle this offseason is what in the world happened to Corey Littleton, because he just makes so many mental mistakes out there, and here's one right here. It's cover 2 zone right here, and he's in charge of covering the zone that a receiver is running a route into. But what's interesting about this route is it's clearly picking on Corey Littleton. They clearly saw something in tape, and they're trying to take advantage of that. So Herbert takes the snap, and you see Littleton, he's kind of facing Herbert right here. He's looking at Herbert, but he also feels as though the receiver who's in his zone right now is going to continue running further down the field. And so he wants to be able to continue to take away that route while at the same time continuing to look at Herbert, which is really difficult to do, quite frankly. It can result in guys getting open, but it's not the end of the world, because in zone, you do want to look at the quarterback as much as possible. What you have to do, though, if you're Littleton, is you have to stop right here. You have to know where your help is behind you, see that he has plenty of help behind him, and don't be worried if the receiver he's covering continues to run deep. You just stay where you're at, maybe even move in a little bit. However, he continues running, thinking that's where the route is going, and it results in an easy completion. But you can't do that. Yes, I understand why he thought it was going to be a further ran route, and, good job by the Chargers. That's a a fun idea to take advantage of someone's own mishaps. But at the same time, you just got to be smarter than that, and you got to know where your help is. And to me, that's by far and away the most frustrating part of this Raiders defense, is they don't know where their help is, and they don't know when to pass guys off and when not to. I fully realize this is not Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden's the offensive guy, but I'm still talking about this stuff because A, I want to talk about the failures from coaching all across the board, and B, because you do have to blame Gruden to some degree for his inability to get a good defensive coordinator that can help coach these guys. This sequence was just so frustrating. So it's going to be right here. It's a cover 6 that the Raiders are in. So very similar to a cover 3. The exception is that you have 3 players deep, but it's almost like you're playing cover 4 on one side of the field and then cover 2 on the other side of the field, because there's one safety in charge of covering the side of the field on the bottom of the screen, and there's going to be 2 players who are in charge of covering deep on the top half of the screen. So that's kind of how that works. The Chargers have 2 eligible receivers on that side of the field, a player running deep, and then they're just going to have someone chip Max Crosby and then just run out to the flat. That's how this is going to work. So for Las Vegas, you have 2 players in that side of the field. And while the safety can't totally just, completely run over and abandon the middle of the field, he kind of can actually, because he knows he has help further deep. So he can be a lot more aggressive than you typically would if it was just a regular cover 2. So Herbert takes the snap, and you see both players over the middle are going to allow the first Charger who's running deep just to pass him. They're giving him to the safety. So that's what they believe their assignment is, and they can run up and make a tackle on a check down route if necessary. The issue with this is that for Las Vegas, their safety is so far deep. I mean, he's 20 yards down the field, so there's going to be a huge window for Herbert to be able to make this throw. And this is what I mean by guys just don't know what their job is. There's several ways you can do this. There's several rules you can have, but there should be a rule here. People should know, okay, the safety's going to crash down and try and make this play, or a linebacker should then run upfield and stay deep with him. When you look at the good zone defenses that have come about these past few years, it's just knowing the rules. That's what it really is, and always knowing where you have help. You look at the Chicago Bears defense when they play zone, they're tremendous at that. Think about the San Francisco 49ers defense last year and how good they were at it. The Raiders are really bad at it, and when you're bad at this, you're not going to be able to have success in the NFL. Watch, once it gets further, he gets even more wide open because they have a late reaction, and that's a huge chunk play just like that. And it would get worse on the very next play. Not because the very next play would actually be worse, but because it would be the exact same thing. Like, look, literally, it's the same concept. So they're not changing anything right here. Same defensive play, same offensive concept on that side of the field. And once Herbert takes the snap, what you notice is the same thing happening. It looks like if you didn't see the end zone in this frame, you'd think I'm just showing you the same play twice. This is ridiculous, and it can't happen, especially because now you look at the 2 players over the middle of the field this time. It's a defensive back and a linebacker. They're both turning their backs towards the check down. So at this point, if you're turning your back towards the check down, go deep. At least one of you should go deep at this point and make Herbert have to throw it over you. Yeah, this is a pretty good concept against this type of coverage regardless, and there probably will be a window for Herbert to make the throw, but make it difficult for him. Don't give him a wide open player, and instead, that's exactly what's going to happen. They pass him off completely. A safety can't make it in time. And in 2 plays, they get entirely down the field, running the exact same concept twice. How do you let that happen again? You just get beat because someone didn't understand their job. How do you not have a conversation immediately after saying, hey, whose job is it to do that? Okay, it's yours. Here's what we do. Fine. Now we know how to stop it. There's several ways you can do it, but the fact that they're not all on the same page is a real issue.